Hello and welcome. Now, before we start the actual full recording, I want to tell you a little secret that I don't tell everybody. I never, ever edit any of the interviews. I let my guests speak as they want to. And originally we were going to talk about many things, but I'm going to call this episode Staying Clean. You'll understand why once you've heard it. Welcome to the guest show. Today, I've got Anthony Welsh with me. If you remember, Anthony the Addict, and also we did part two. No, Tony the Addict, and part two was Anthony the Clean. But we were discussing, myself and Anthony, because I do talk to him outside the podcast, about several things, and he mentioned that he didn't tell the complete story, and they were saying that I should have picked up, because I do not, ladies and gentlemen, interrogate my people like you might see some. I do hear things, but I let them control it. But for a quick précis of Anthony's life, how it was, and as you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think I remember it all. 11 years old, he was given a choice. His stepfather said to his mother, it's either me or him. The mother chose the stepfather, unfortunately. So Anthony found himself out in the street. He did get help from people who lived nearby for a few days, but soon he fell into drugs because somebody said to him, it'll make you feel better. And until he's 38, drugs was his focus in life. How to get it, how to get the money to get it. He left Liverpool, I think, 15. And it was that. He did anything to get those drugs. 38, he saw a woman with a lanyard. And he said he wanted a lanyard. Now, the previous Tony the Addict would have gone, I'm going to nick it. But he decided not to. He decided to become clean. But he did say at that point, I thought about it a few years before. So, Anthony, you said you thought a few years before. Why didn't you start your journey with your recovery then?
Because there's a difference between wanting to get clean and having the will to do it. Wanting to be clean's just the thought. Do you know what I mean? Actually making something happen where you're going to get clean. I remember being an addict, everything was easy. Do you know what I mean? There's no bills, no responsibilities, didn't have to worry about rent and all that type of stuff. Getting clean, the thing that stops most people from getting clean, I genuinely believe, is that we don't know how to deal with that part of life, like responsibilities, paying bills. Do you know what I mean? So thinking about it for a long time, I want to be clean, was just a thought. But again, seeing that lanyard spark just started a spark, and that started the will to get clean. And then once I had that, it was like, so me getting clean was 90% me, no, 80% me and 20% services and that, you know what I mean? Because they absolutely went out of their way to help me. Do you know what I mean? But no matter what they do, it's down to me. They can make me appointments, 10 appointments a week, but if I don't make them appointments myself, if I don't go to them, then it's no good for me, is it? Do you know what I mean? So I give myself that 80% credit because I was the one that made the appointments. I was the one that had gone to rehab. I was the one that still stayed on the street with no home, clean. Do you know what I mean? And I was the one that, when everything was going wrong, I was the one that still had the will to power through it all. And at the moment, my life's not that great at the moment. Now, Tony would have gone bail, let's go to drugs. This is, this is how we deal when life's not going well. This is how we deal with it. We go to drugs. Anthony's sitting here thinking, right, what I need to do is update my CV. Need to do is start sending off emails and making phone calls to get myself a new job. Do you know what I mean? Like, Tony would never have had the will to do that. Tony had just gone, no, drugs, happy days. I'm now in a position where I'm genuinely thinking to myself, I like being clean. I like having a home. I like the family I have around me. I like my partner. I like my one friend, my one close friend. And I'm willing to do everything I can to keep it. And that's that bit, that willing bit. Do you know what I mean? So now I'm sorting out my CV. Monday, I'll go do the job centre. I'll go and make appointments and go and do, I'll go and do interviews for jobs. Do you know what I mean? I'm willing to put myself out there today.
But you said
Again,
something, you did say something earlier on, which I want to ask you a question about. You said when things go wrong, it's easy to go. For ladies and gentlemen, Anthony's got a very healthy way of looking at himself. There's Tony the Addict and Anthony the Clean. When you started on your journey to recovery, were there times you didn't go to appointments?
yeah,
Why?
because I was still an addict. Even though I was clean, even though I'd stopped taking the drugs and I was on Subutex at the time, I was still an addict. I still had addictive behaviours. I still had all that chaos in my life. I was still an addict. But that's where the services get the 20% from, because they understood, look, even though he's trying to get clean, he's still not going to make appointments when he said he will, because he's never made an appointment in his life. Do you know what I mean? So that understanding, if it turned up half hour or an hour late, they were like, no worries, let's get it done now. That understanding, do you know what I mean? Because again, I'd never made an appointment in my life. I didn't really claim benefits. I just sort of lived in doorways, robbed and used drugs. Do you know what I mean? It was just that simple. It was a simple life. So I never made appointments. I didn't go to doctors. I didn't go to dentists. I didn't go to job centres. I didn't do anything. So then expecting me to then, if they say, come to me at 10 o'clock in the morning, knowing I'm an addict, do you know what I mean? And I don't make that, and then they blame me for that, then they're in the wrong, not me. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
I'm thinking about not so much. You said how difficult it was at the last time going to appointments in the morning. You would say the afternoon, but my
yeah,
but my other question is, did you have a timepiece to tell you the time?
no.
So how would you know when the time to go to the appointment was? If it's so, if I said you come to me at 2 p.m. All right, like
So, mate, I know what time I get up, right?
yeah,
So I get up at like 8 o'clock in the morning, right? And I know at what time I score,
mm,
right? And I know how long it takes me to score, to use, right?
yeah,
And then I work from then. Do you know what I mean? So I'd wake up at 7:30, I'd be ready by 11 o'clock, 11:30, and then I'd walk to where I was going. And if it was at 2 o'clock, I'd sit outside and smoke and bump fags.
mm,
Do you know what I mean? Like, but once I got clean and actually had a phone at work, then I could tell the time. I'm always on time. If I say I'm going to do something, I know I wasn't today, but if I say I'm going to do something, I I literally will do it at that time. If I tell my clients we're going to go and do this at a certain time on a certain day, hell or high water wouldn't stop me from doing it. Do you know what I mean? Because they're my clients, and if I tell them I'm going to do something, and mate, the only thing I have about myself is my word. Do you know what I mean? So if I give you my word about something, I will do it. Do you know what I mean? It's just that simple.
well, I've known you for a few years. I know that you're number one, you're very open about your life. number one, you do care about people. We're on several government panels, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
But it's this thing about time, because I know a little side story. When I was on the street one morning, I woke up probably later. I normally usually wake up. I had no idea of time. My phone, which was an old-fashioned phone at that stage, had run out of charge. And people, I knew it must have been about 8 or 9 o'clock, but I couldn't get the time from anybody. And I am somebody who lives by time.
Yeah, I'm not.
Mm.
I'm not. Again, it's that thing of when I was going into inclusion, I'd say to them, if you're expecting me to come at a certain time, I'm never going to make it, man. That's not one of my
Mm.
skills right now. Do you know what I mean? But if you tell me to come in on that day, I will definitely be in. And the later you make my appointment, the more chance you have of me coming. Because once I've done whatever I had to do, I had nothing to do till the appointment. So I'd just go and sit in inclusion. Sometimes spend the day.
So,
Sometimes go at like 10 o'clock in the morning and leave at 5 o'clock at night so I could go to an NA meeting. That's how committed I was and how willing I was to get clean. I'd sit in a room full of other addicts, man, with support workers around me and wait all day so I could go to a meeting at night. Do
maybe
you know
for
what I
people
mean?
who don't know, NA is Narcotics Anonymous. Um, so we've said that you did have some, we'll call it backstepping, if you don't mind that phrase. How long did it take you to not backstep in your recovery?
What do you mean backstep?
Well, you missed appointments. Okay.
Oh, mate, I miss appointments now,
Mm.
ain't it? Like I'm human.
Yeah, no, I'm
That's not,
talking about.
yeah, no, but because I missed appointments didn't mean I didn't take my recovery serious.
I know it doesn't.
And what it means is that I was still in that chaotic part of
Mm.
of the
So how long
addiction.
did
Do you
it
know what
take
I
you
mean?
out of the account?
So
Oh, I've got.
yeah, so after about a year clean,
Mm.
I started volunteering to work with other addicts.
Yeah.
Um, and it didn't work for me. So, I kept thinking about it. I kept and they'd always put it on me as well. Do you know what I mean? Offer me it and that. And I couldn't work like that. So I stopped doing that. So in my third year, um, I went back and it didn't bother me. Didn't bother they offered me. It didn't bother me that they left it out in front of
So,
me. You
Anthony, I
know.
need to ask you a question about this because
Mm-hmm.
I want clarification. You said it didn't work like that for you then.
Yeah.
The offer they made to you, you're saying, yes? What the conditions you had to work under, maybe. Am I right?
What for now or then?
No, then. We're talking about,
Then wasn't work conditions. I went in and spoke to other addicts.
yeah.
Uh, and spoke about being clean and helped them with benefits. So I was a peer mentor, but it didn't work for me at that moment. Do you know what I mean? I just wasn't strong enough,
I see.
and I couldn't handle them. It wasn't that I couldn't handle it; they were putting it on me, and I didn't feel comfortable in myself or my recovery to stay there and do that.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? So I took a step back, which my boss understood totally, and put me on something else. Do you know what I mean? So after 2 years, I had a proper understanding of where I was and where my recovery was and how clean I was. And being clean doesn't mean you're not using drugs. It doesn't just mean you're not using drugs. It means, your behaviors are totally different. I wasn't lying constantly. I wasn't thieving. I wasn't being confronting people constantly. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't always putting my point across and making sure I was heard. I started to listen more. Do you know what I mean? That's when recovery started to really get a grip on me. And like I say, the third year, I could work around addicts, no problem. You know, My third year in my recovery was awesome.
Mm.
You know,
So it took you.
I had my first home, and I had my first real job in my third year recovery, like a job in my third year recovery. You know, I had a partner. I was seeing my daughter and her bloke. Do you know what I mean? And I haven't looked back from that third year, to be fair. This last 6 months, 4 months, I've genuinely thought about it a few times. Do you mean I've genuinely thought, you know what, I've had enough of this life, man. This ain't the life for me. I'd rather go back to what I know. Do you know what I mean? I can deal with that life. That life's easy. What I forget is I've been out of it for 8 years. You know, I'm nearly 50. That life's not easy. You know, that life's just, you just don't have any responsibilities. You just don't care. That's what that life is. It's
Mm.
not an easy life. It's just that you just have the inability to look at your situation and see it for anything but, you know, what it is. And it, you know what I mean?
What
And
you
I really
think?
enjoyed that part of using, was that I didn't have responsibilities.
Mm.
The part I hate the most about being clean is that the responsibilities tenfold. And nobody warns you about that. Nobody says get clean and you'll have a ton of responsibilities. You'll have to pay a rent and you'll have to get a job and you'll have to do this and you'll have to do that and you'll have to make friends. Do you know what I mean? Nobody tells you that stuff. They just say get clean. It's amazing.
So
And
my
it is
question
amazing.
would be, Anthony, is you got, like, as we know, anybody who comes up. I was homeless. I know some guys who won't go up the street because of these responsibilities.
Yeah.
Why not go back to the street? Then you'd have the responsibilities.
Because I have responsibilities.
Because you've got responsibility. That's an interesting.
Yeah. That's why I don't go back to the street, because I have responsibilities.
And what are they?
Mate, I have a partner that loves me and I love an adore. I have a daughter and 3 grandkids. Do you know what I mean? I have
Mm.
responsibility to myself to show myself a better life than I've ever had before. And I'm not getting it at the moment. But again, it's that thing of you balance up, you know, that using, sleeping on the streets, no responsibilities. You balance it up with the life you have today. Now, my life mightn't be brilliant. I've just lost my job. Do you know what I mean? You know, I don't have any money in the bank. I don't have any food in my cupboard at the moment. Do you know what I mean? I've got £1.79 in my bank. Do you know what I mean? So my life's not brilliant, and I'm not looking at it getting any money till the 18th of this month if I'm lucky. Do you know what I mean? So you can see where I'm coming from. Like, my
Yeah,
life's not good at the moment, right? But what I'm not doing is thinking to myself, going back to drugs is going to make my life easier. Do you know what I mean? Or I am thinking of it, but I'm not acting on it.
I know.
And
But
that's real growth. And that's where the real recovery kicks in.
you've
Is
said
that
something very
mate?
important for me. But as we said, we discussed this. I am alone. I have no family. I have a couple of friends. That's it. I don't mind that. I have people who think they're my friends. They're just people when I was doing the work at Cardboard, a lot of people thought I were friends. I said, they're just members. But you said the big pay it back for me personally is your family. That is the
The,
responsibility, isn't it?
the what?
Your big payback you get for this lifestyle you're leading now is your family.
Yeah, look where I've come from in 8 years, mate. I've
Mm.
come from a doorway in Winchester, and I know I say Winchester, but I'm not from Winchester.
I
Do you
know.
know what I mean? So we're in a rich doorway. It was just a doorway in Winchester. You know, eating out of McDonald's bins because I didn't have the ability to feed myself. Genuinely didn't. Do you know what I mean? And now I'm clean. I've had a job. I've helped people, you know. but I'm back to where I am, except for now I'm not in the doorway. I have no ability to feed myself again. Do you know what I mean? That's ridiculous. And I just think to myself, mate, why did I get clean? Like, I could understand it. I'd go to McDonald's bins and eat in front of people that as soon as they put their burger in the bin, I'd walk right past them and take it out the bin in front of them and eat it. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's when I was using. I can't do that now. I'm clean.
Yeah, I know
Now,
there was.
do you know what I mean? I can't walk into McDonald's and eat out of bins now. I'm clean, mate. That's not a human. That's not what humans do. Do you know what I mean?
There
That's
was a bloke
that's that type of thing where, sorry, where the difference between, keeping your shit together when times are really hard, right? And knowing no matter what you've been through in the past, it can't get any harder. So at some stage it's going to get better. If you have that mindset, mate, you'll make it, ain't it? But if you're like, okay, I can't feed myself right at this moment, so what I want to do is and go back to what I used to do because that's an easier life, then, mate, you've lost in everything you've tried to do, haven't you, really? Do you know what I mean? It is an easier life. There's no doubt about it, man. It's an enjoyable life. I had lots of friends. Not friends. I had lots of people that I spoke to and used with and spent time with. Do you know what I mean? I had money all the time because I was constantly thieving. I'm more skint now having a 37.5 hour job, half hour a week job than I ever was when I was using heroin and crack.
Mm,
That's just a ridiculous concept. The fact that I'm even saying that just sounds ridiculous. Do you know what I mean? But it's
I think the
true.
thing is, Anthony, that there's been statistics. I do lots of research, all right, that a lot of people working, two-thirds their salary goes on rent.
Yeah,
Then they've got their bills and other things, and sometimes the salaries and offering, especially the field you're in, I mentioned before, about 8 years ago, I decided to study for a social care qualification.
mate, we are taxed on absolutely everything, right? We're taxed on the job, right? We're taxed on the money we earn. We're taxed on the petrol to get to work, right? We're taxed on the food we eat, right? We're virtually taxed on the air we breathe at the moment. They tax everything out of us,
Let
right?
me,
So hang on, let me just get to this point, right? So I'm on a 22.5 grand a year job, right? Yeah, where they tax me so much, right? That it's better and easier for me to be on 1,200 quid, right, a month on benefits and sit in my room than it is for me to go out and do a 37.5 hour job. Do you know, a week job? Do you know
no,
what I mean?
let me
That's
finish my
ridiculous.
point.
Hang on, let me just finish. And the fact that I've got clean, mate, right? From a 24-year addiction and homelessness, the fact that I've got clean and I'm now in a worse position than I was as an addict just really blows me away.
I know. So let me make this point, Anthony. Okay. A few years ago, I told you about this before. When I was doing my social care qualification, put me in the first 6 months, I was teaching people how to use computers and job search. That wasn't fulfilling the qualification, what I had to put in. They put me in a hostel. And oh no, this is another one. But I'll say that same thing. This organization cut all their frontline staff's wages from 25 grand to 19 grand at that stage. Remember, this is London again, high rates. And I spoke to somebody I know who used to work for that organization, who is an advice worker now. And he said, very funny how the CEO got a rise now. They've cut the money. So I don't think, it sounds a lot of money, 22.5 grand. It's not. Seeing the national average supposed to be 34 grand. I don't know many people have earned national averages in my life. So I quite understand that.
It's not a living wage,
No.
mate. That's the problem. And it's 22.5 grand, right? But that's not after tax.
Mm.
That's before tax. So it's about 18 and a bit grand
Yeah.
a year after tax, right? So even if it's 20 grand a year, right, after tax, right, I have to get petrol to get to work, or bus, or train. I have to find food while I'm at work. Do you know what I mean? And then I've got to, it's just ridiculous. Man, do you know what I mean? I might as well sit at home, innit,
There
watch
are.
TV all day. Hang on, let me just finish my point. Right, I might as well sit at home and watch TV all day and do fuck all, right? Innit? Or go on drugs and do fuck all, right? And I'd still get paid more money than I do when I actually want to work.
So let me ask you a
'Cause
question, and Nancy, you've just said it. Are you ever considering going back?
what's it, drugs?
Yes.
Of course not.
Good.
Never.
Yeah.
Never even into my mind. It's not the point I'm making.
I know the
The
point you're
point
making.
I'm making is that life's so hard at the minute for everybody. Why wouldn't you fall back to that?
Yeah. It was easier, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I know guys
Yeah.
on the streets who won't get off the streets. They've got no responsibility.
Yeah, because life's easy. It's not even about the responsibilities, mate. It's about the government tax the crap out of us constantly. Everything's taxed, right? When I'm on benefits, mate, it's not taxed. They don't tax me for sitting on my ass all day and doing nothing. They tax me for getting up and going to work, right? So why should I do that?
Oh,
Genuinely. Hang on, let me just say, I've been clean for 8 years, right? I've had this job, a real job, for 8 months, right?
mm.
I am so sick and tired of my wage packet, right? That I am going to go back on benefits. Right, I haven't got long to live, I don't think, to be honest, really. I hope I haven't got fucking long to live. Let's be real, because the way this world's going, mate, I genuinely can't wait to die. Right, but my point is, I'd rather do it sitting on my ass and doing nothing, because I get paid for doing that. I get paid well for doing that. Going and doing a proper job, giving all this knowledge, all this lived experience. Do you know what I mean? I don't get paid well for that. So why would I do that?
Well, you only look. I'm on a panel with you. I met you must be 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, on the expert link panel.
Yeah.
And the reason I brought you on originally, as you know, was to talk about drugs. That's not my world. I know nothing
No.
about drugs. And you give value at those meetings. So I remember we were at the ministry once, and only you and me were talking. The other eight were
Yeah.
saying
But
nothing.
mate, Expert Link don't pay me to do that.
I know.
They don't pay me. That's the difference. Like I said this to my boss, the big boss, right? I've never had it ever in my life, right? So when I don't have it again, I won't miss it. Yeah. It's that simple. But when I do have it, when I work for it, I want it, mate. Do you know what I
Mm.
mean? I've never had money, right? I've never been able to buy myself trainers and that. Yeah. And now I'm working. Still don't have the money to buy myself trainers, right? So when I don't work, I won't miss it. And I said that to my boss. Do you know what I mean? The difference, I haven't got a mortgage. So they don't hold me over the barrel. And my one genuine, real thing by my past life is that, mate, I've never had it. I've never had money. I've never had big TVs. I've never had anything fancy. I still haven't got it now while I'm working. So when I don't work, I'm not going to miss it. Do you know what I mean? And, I text them, I email them and said, if this is the right wage, I'm leaving. They came back and said it was the right wage. I left. Do you know what I mean? There was no messing about. And it's just like, when it comes to stuff like that, I'm ruthless, man. Do you know what I mean? Because I have to be, my recovery depends on this type of stuff. If I am so, broken by a job that's not giving me any satisfaction or worth, then I would relapse. Do you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, it comes between knowing yourself, knowing your worth, and understanding that between going back to drugs and doing that job, I was quitting that job. And that's what I did. Do you know what I mean? That's the understanding I have after 8 years of being clean. Is I don't mess about with stuff that messes with my mental health, messes with my recovery, messes with my emotional thing, we spoke about this earlier. I don't have people that bring drama into my life.
Hmm.
Don't have them. They go straight away if they do it. Do you know what I mean? Because my life's my life, man. I haven't had much of a life. I've only had 8 years of living a life. Do you know what I mean? So I value that. And if I'm working in a place that doesn't value me, I can't work there. Do you know what I mean? And this place it was, it was a system the system was so out of key with what they were trying to do. They were trying to get people clean, but the system was so off key to that it wasn't working. We called it no hope powered because nobody in the house had any hope of ever getting clean or getting out of that house. Do you know what I mean? And it was because the system would put so many bits of red tape in front of them. I could see ways they weren't even real addicts. Like they were poly users. So they were drug users. They weren't real addicts.
Really? What do you
Yeah,
mean?
so poly users like they'll use weed, speed, ease, drink. Do you know what I mean? Whatever it is, just to fix themselves for that day. Do you know what I mean? So they were just drug users that had shitty lives.
You spoke to me about
Yeah.
the phrase once before a few months ago, and it's quite interesting. So,
Yeah. I was an addict, mate. I was committed. I was
mm,
dedicated to dying in the doorway from heroin. At some stage in my life, that's the life I wanted. I was committed to it. I was a proper addict. Do you know what I mean? And this lot aren't. So they were easy fixes. Get them out for like 8 hours, 9 hours a day. Go get them, pick up the script, take them out, take them to the woods, take them to do stuff, get them interested in stuff, get them an interest, get them a flame or a spark flickering, and you just smash that, man. Do you know what I mean? But there was none of that. There
now
was none of that.
we're coming towards the end. All right.
Mm-hmm.
One question for you. What's the next? Okay, you already said you're going to go to the job centre. You also spoke about applying for jobs. Where are you going to be applying for jobs if you all have this bad experience of an employer?
Mate, I'm chefing.
Are you chefing?
Yeah, I'm going back to chefing.
Yeah.
Right, I am going to. I said this the first time I think, or I haven't. I'm gonna build my own company.
Yeah, you
In it,
said that.
I'm gonna do it right because I can't work for people that have no understanding of what they're really doing.
Mm.
And I can learn to be a support worker. Yeah, well, it's not easy. That's not what I mean. It's just I just have to read stuff and do training and that. Right?
Mm.
They can't learn to be an addict or homeless. Do you know what I mean? They can't learn that mindset, man. Like I can learn to be a support worker. They can't learn what I know. Do you know what I mean? And I can't work for people that can't understand that, man. So
Mm.
when I'm saying this is the right way to do stuff, ain't it? Or it's on the right path to do stuff, and they're saying, well, actually, we don't think so because we believe we should be doing it this way. Well, which one of us two have been fucking an addict and homeless for 24 years? And which one of us two got clean and stayed clean?
Mm.
Right. So then if I say this is the way you should do it because this has worked in the long run for most people, who would you think, who would you say listen to?
Well, I have a question for you about that.
Go on.
Okay. If you've known people who are addicts, okay, surely each addict has their own way out. So there's not one way
Of
of doing.
course there is not, but there's a universal guide, isn't it? There's a step guide, isn't it?
Mm,
Do you know what I mean? So for me, going to NA, millions of people go to NA, millions of people get clean. Step one. Do you know what I mean? But getting people engaged in stuff, giving them stuff to do. Boredom kills me.
mm,
Boredom kills clean people. Boredom kills recovery. Do you know what I mean? So if you're saying to people, come into this house, sit in your room on your own, watching TV all day, and go pick up your script and you'll stay clean. Well, no, that's not going to work, is it?
no.
You say to people, go pick up your script. We're going to take you out for the day. We're going to take you to do this, that, and the other to get you an interest in something, just to get you out for a bit and get you out of that room, right? That would work, yeah? Because I've experienced that in rehab. And every other place that deals with addicts and knows what they're doing knows boredom kills, right? My company doesn't. Ernest, why can't I work for people like that? I know how to get people, I know how to help people get clean. I know the right paths to show them. They have to walk down them. They have to climb the steps. I totally give you that. But if you can put them on the right path, then they have a better chance than you putting them on a path, to, I don't know, Iceland when they should be going on a path to London.
Mm,
Do you know what I mean? So there's a big difference between, again, that lived experience. I'm not saying everybody will get clean. Everybody can't get clean. Some people don't want to get clean. But what I'm saying is, you stick them on the right path, give them right encouragement. They'll do it, man. Nobody wants to live in a doorway. Nobody wants to be a slave to drugs, man. Not not nobody, but 90% of people
mm.
don't want to live in doorways. 90% of people don't want to be addicts. The scariest thing about being an addict is getting clean because we have no clue what it is to be clean. And I totally get it, you know. But if you have someone like me who's been through it all, has walked them paths and then has come out and then stayed clean for 8 years, then who should you listen to? Who would you listen to if you Ian said to me, my friend's on drugs, right? Heroin and crack, heroin, right? And I think he should have aspirin, right? But I don't know anything about heroin, so that's my best guess,
Yeah.
right? Or then you come to me and say, my friend's been taking heroin, he's ill, what does he need? And I say methadone. Which one are we going to go with?
I'd
Methadone from me or aspirin from you?
it'd be a methadone, of course.
There you go. That's my whole point. It's like, why are you guessing at other people's recovery? Let them do their recovery, but put them on the right step. These are the right steps, right? It's that simple. And again, I can't work for companies that are not going to work beside me like that, are not going to listen to me and think, "Do you know what? He has a point. He has been there and he has stayed clean for this long. So let's try his way instead of going, well, our boss says this is the way we should do it. So that's what we're going to do." Do you know what I mean? I just think I can't do that, mate. So I'm gonna start my own company, innit? And
We
I'm going to
spoke
do
about
it.
that a year ago.
Yeah.
The group, yeah.
And I came and got this job, right, for the company because I've never worked for one. And I
Mhm.
wanted to know what it was like, and I wanted to know what interactions and all that was like. And mate, it's been the worst 8 months of my life. HR has everyone terrified that no one wants to take sick leave because
Mm.
they're all getting no pay, which happened to me this time. Do you know what I mean? Um, you know, they do amazing things. Don't get me wrong, they really do, but they do. When they don't do it right, they do it really, really wrong. Do you
Mm.
know what I mean? Like, you know,
Yeah,
I'm
well,
not going to do that.
I'm going to wish you good luck, Anthony. I know we'll see each other again. We talk to each other occasionally.
Of course.
Yeah, and I understand, as I said to you before, when you spoke about this job before you took it, I thought the one thing you're going to have to face is the system because companies have these stupid systems.
Yeah, systems
Um,
don't work.
yeah. So thank you very much for Anthony, and I'll see you again. Goodbye, everyone. And if you've enjoyed this podcast, I won't say enjoyed or learnt something from this podcast, most of my casts are on subjects which people don't even think about in general. Share it with somebody. And if you'd like to know more, you can always contact me at my email, standupspeakingoutuk@mail.com. I also run a mailing list. So in that mailing list, you not only get notification of every single podcast when they come out, every month I publish a newsletter which has news in it or points. Thank you very much and goodbye.